basically growing up in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, at a time where Flatbush Avenue was filled with art house movie theaters. Most of them have since been, renovated and turned into churches, but there was a time where there were literally at least 4 or 5 movie theaters on Flatbush Avenue in the 80s and even the late 70s and whatnot. And so basically, he used to take me to the movies with him. I was basically his partner in crime, and every weekend we went to the movies. And I tell people all the time that is definitely what triggered the bug in me. Long before I ever even had any aspirations of being a filmmaker, I fell in love with acting. And so by the age of 6 or 7, I was seeing R-rated films like Taxi Driver. I was already introduced to Martin Scorsese.
Okay. Um, let's see. Stop hearing, lost audio, lost audio. Can you guys hear me? Oh, perfect. All right, we're back. All right, we're back. So Jerry, I think the last thing they heard was when you were talking about, you were a kid, you were being introduced to the arts, and when you were introduced to Martin Scorsese, and that's what they're saying. The last thing they heard you talk about was Martin Scorsese. So talk about the impact that, as a kid, and if you look back on the impact that Martin Scorsese had on you, what impact did it have on you as a kid, shaping your career? And even looking back now, kind of getting into the game that early, how did that affect you even now as a filmmaker?
I would say subconsciously at the time, it was still from the perspective of acting. I didn't foresee any writing or directing. I probably didn't even know what a director did or was at that age. But for me, it was the storytelling aspect and being an actor, putting on a performance. For me, that's what stayed with me at that point in time. And so I found myself at a young age going home and reciting scenes, reenacting scenes in the mirror, going in the bathroom, locking the door, and just playing out scenes to some of these films, like Taxi Driver, like Grease. I vividly recall and remember seeing those films 6, 7, 8 years old. I was already deep and very entrenched into the arts and watching cinema.
Got it, got it. So yeah, you talked about, being a kid, doing that, um, taking it upon yourself to go back and jump in front of the mirror and start practicing lines. Was that the point that you were like, you know what, this is it, this is me?
Not really. And the reason for that is I think a lot of times, depending on the culture that we come up in, I grew up in a very, very reserved, very conservative Caribbean family.
Right.
And so for me, at that point in time, it didn't seem, it was more so a dream, it was more so a fantasy. Wow, what I wouldn't do to be an actor, how would I love, you know, to be an actor. But at that time, I still had what I call a mental wall, which is that it doesn't seem feasible, it's not tangible, it's not something realistic. Things like that doesn't happen to people like me, actors or, Gary Coleman, cats that I'm watching on TV, different strokes and people that are in LA. That must be an LA thing. No one from Flatbush, no one from Brooklyn that I know becomes an actor. And that's something we'll discuss further along. But I think for all of us, it's all about what's feasible and what's in your world and what you see. And so, therefore, if you don't know anyone or have never been introduced to anyone or anyone in your cycle, in your circle, your culture, your surroundings, you don't think that it's realistic. So still at that age, yeah, this is something I'd love to do. This is something I'd want to do, but it's not realistic. There's no way. How am I going to go from Newkirk Avenue to being on the big screen or being on
Right,
television?
right. So, and I know I really want to go deep there, but I know that's an entirely different thing that we talked about. So let's keep pushing through the story. So, you know, you had that bug at least, though, even though you didn't quite understand how to make it happen, it was there, right?
It was there. Yep.
Yeah. So what was the next progression? You know, you talked about moving on and getting a job in the movie theater. And let's talk about that story and the impact that that had on you.
So now we fast forward maybe 13, 14 years. I'm roughly between the age of 18 and 20 years old. Basically, just got a car. I'm in college. I need some extra money. So basically looking for a job. And so I thought, how cool would it be to get a job working in the movie theater as an usher? So this is roughly between 1990, 1992. And so ushers are still essentially wearing bow ties and still got the, you know, the burgundy blazer jacket. And I went to Coney Island Ave, not too far from Coney Island. It was Cineplex Odeon movie theater. Applied for a job as an usher. I got a job that summer as a movie usher. And so essentially I was changing soda fillers and cleaning out the theater, had the big flashlight joint, you know, walking through the aisles and making sure people don't have their feet up. And that was basically my job, ripping ticket stubs.
Yeah.
And I did that for about roughly a year and a half. But I remember, I lost track, but I think my first summer as an usher, I probably saw about 75 films in one summer, you know. So a plethora of different movies. And so this continues, of course, this is continuing to fuel that energy and that passion about being an actor. And so I'm taking this all in. I still vividly remember watching Mo Better Blues. I was working in the movie theater when Mo Better Blues came out. And I remember just being like watching Wesley and Denzel. I was like, yo, man, what I would not do for this opportunity to be an actor and to be in a film. I'm like, I got to get put on. And I literally remember the theater being cleaned out, and after the audience would leave, and you know, I'm going down the aisles and I'm picking up, you know, still soda and popcorn, and I'm saying to myself, I got to get put on. I got to do a movie. And at that time, my highest goal was to be in a movie. Like if I so much had gotten a role and give me one line, I'm like, I made it. This is it. You know, so at this point, 18, 19 years old, this is where I am now. I'm like, I got to get in the film.
Let me ask you this, because this is something I just thought about while you were sharing that story. Was there a point when you went from watching the movie as a fan who loved movies and as a movie buff, because you know you talked about being a movie buff? Was there a point where you transitioned from movie buff to like, yo, this is actually what I want to do? Was there a point and when that happened, and was there a pivotal movie that you saw that made you think like, yo, you know, this is it. This is what I want to do?
That's a good question. I would say it happened probably about 2 years after the movie theater experience.
Okay.
At that point, I started inquiring more about the profession and getting information from people, because right around this time, New York Undercover came out.
Oh.
And, you know, with Malik Yoba, and basically now I'm seeing a lot of young, you know, that show was a huge outlet for a lot of young African Americans, many of which who lived in New York. So I found myself bumping into cats that were like extras, background actors in New York Undercover. And so to me, as a background actor, I'm looking at these cats like they're Robert De Niro. I'm like, yeah,
you're
the
looking at
guy
extras.
who walked by real quick and looked at Malik, or, you know, you cussed Malik out last week. You know, how do you get in the game? And so they started talking about Backstage Magazine in New York. You got to buy Backstage. You have to get in the union. I didn't know anything about SAG at the time, the Screen Actors Guild. And most importantly, they were like, you got to get headshots. You got to get some professional pictures done. So the process is beginning now. Now, you know, I have no formal training yet, but I'm saying to myself, okay, at least I know what I got to do. But now I'm faced with the challenge of not getting in many auditions because I got to be in the union. Can't get in the union unless you've done some work, but I can't get any work because I'm not in the union. So this is where now things are starting to get some momentum, and that's where we go into the next bullet point.
Word. All right. So let's talk about that. Keep pushing. I want to interrupt. I'll let you flow right into it.
All right, no worries. So basically now, I'm working, I'm grinding, still trying to figure out an outlet to get in the game. And a series of things happened because now I'm doing my due diligence and doing my research. And I discovered one festival initially by the name of Urban World, the Urban World Film Festival. I happened to literally just walk by it in the city. It was in Manhattan, and I remember inquiring about how much it was to get a festival pass. And the festival pass was something in that range of $600. And I was like, okay, there's no way I'm gonna be able to afford that. And there was a panel discussion going on that I couldn't attend, and I remember being real disheartened and discouraged about that. But I said, all right, I found out about this late. It's all good. Next time, I'll get a heads up and I'll be in the mix for it. And shortly after that, I heard an ad in the radio on WBLS about a film festival called the Acapulco Black Film Festival, which is still referred to as ABFF. The first few years of ABFF was held in Acapulco. And the ad was saying, meet your favorite stars, Morgan Freeman, blah, blah, blah. All these people are going to be here. Great networking opportunity. Watch some independent films. And I was like, yeah, that's where I need to be. So I did some research, found out that the festival pass was somewhere in the area of $700 something, plane ticket, hotel, et cetera, et cetera. So needless to say, the trip was probably well over $2,000. Nonetheless, I knew it was something I had to seize and take advantage of. I spent the next $300 for the Actors Boot Camp. They had a boot camp series for 4 days that was being hosted by Bill Duke and Robert Townsend. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be in the mix. I'm bringing my headshots. I'm going to save up my money. I'm going to save up my paychecks. I'm going to buy a festival pass. I'm going to buy a plane ticket. None of the cats I grew up with, they're not about that life. No one was about to jump on a plane to Acapulco for anything pertaining to the arts. I pretty much grew up with a lot of dudes that weren't really blue collar hard cats, not really anybody who was really into the arts or what have you. So, you have people who sometimes they want to make moves, but they won't make moves unless somebody else makes it with them. And I tell people all the time, we all have our own paths and we all have our own destinies. You can't keep yourself back because you don't want to be by yourself. And so with that being said, I saved up some money, smacked on my Timbs, I put my headshots in my backpack and I headed out to Acapulco. And that's where things really started to set off. I was meeting with a lot of different people. I was networking. I attended the Actors Boot Camp. And it was at that point that Bill Duke and Robert Townsend went on to say, okay, now you're here. Here's the truth. As a person of color, you really don't have the luxury of just solely being an actor. And for me, I was just grasping, the whole process of being an actor. And now I'm already being told I don't have the luxury of just focusing solely on being an actor. And they said, as a person of color, you really have to venture into producing, you have to venture into writing, you have to venture into directing. And if one of those things or all of them aren't your calling, then you really need to surround yourself around other people who do that and build your own clique and build your own tribe. And essentially, if you really look at people who succeed, or if you're watching an interview, you'll notice quite often they'll say they grew up with this person, or they came up with this person, or they attended school with this person, or they used to sleep on this person's couch. That's not a coincidence. There's an energy to everything. And people do come up together because people, we're tribal by nature. And so you associate yourself with people that are like-minded and have the same goals and intentions as you. And so that was the beginning of me understanding the power of networking with the people that was in the room with me. That was the first time I was with other aspiring artists who had the same goal in mind. So I'm taking this all in and understanding, okay, if I don't write, I need to associate and affiliate myself with someone who writes. If I don't direct, I have to start associating and affiliating myself with someone who directs. And he took it a step further and called us out. And he said, if anybody in this room is serious about their craft, if you guys are really serious, I assure you someone in this room will come back with a movie next year. And I remember looking around the room. I turned around. I was like, gee, I wonder who that cat's going to be. Because I really got to get with that person. I got to make sure I give out all my business cards and what have you, not knowing that I was going to be the individual to come back with the movie next year. And so that's how my debut, my directorial debut in More Infinity came to be. And of course, that's a whole other story, which we'll delve into, a lot more down the line, especially next week. But essentially, that trip is what changed everything. That was the pivot where it was like, okay, I have the information. I've been called out. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I've been challenged. And this is good. So I went back. I've been challenged. I've been called out. Like, if you about that life, you serious? Then this is what's gonna happen.
Word.
And so I went back to my hotel room. I went out in the balcony and I'm looking out into the sea and I'm looking at the beautiful scenery. I had the big Dookie camcorder because we didn't have our phones like we all do now. I had this big Dookie camcorder and I did like a little testimonial and I was like, wow, this trip was probably the most important investment, I've ever made in my life. And I know for a fact that things aren't going to be the same. The cat that left Brooklyn isn't the same cat that's coming back. Like, it's definitely on. I can't tell you. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know things are not going to be the same. This is it. Like, I'm amped, I'm hyped, I'm inspired. Like, it's on. And a plethora of things followed once I got back home from writing my first screenplay, which I know we're going to delve into that down the road, and ultimately shooting my first film.
Got it. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm about to unmute the microphone, and I see a ton of people asking questions. Kathy has not only has she typed a question in the chat window, but she's just sent me an email. I don't know how she got my phone number. She texted me. She sent, like, I literally looked outside. Like, Kathy is doing everything to get here. So, Kathy, I'm going to unmute the microphone. Kathy, can you hear me? Kathy De La Lu?
Yes.
Hey, what's up, Kathy? Yeah. Can you hear Jerry?
Yeah.
Word. So what's your question?
I want to know, how do you turn your story into a movie?
Okay. So Jerry, just in case you didn't hear the question, Kathy has a quick, question. It's definitely not a quick question, but she says, she has written, a novel, and she wants to know, like, how can she turn that into a movie? Now, here's one thing I'll tell you, Kathy. So the details of that are going to be in the course. So, but Jerry's going to give you, a high-level overview of taking something like that, something that you've written, and then pushing it to that next step. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Okay, well, to answer your question, sis, there are a number of ways you can go about that. One of which is oftentimes the book, if it gets enough buzz and catches the interest of a producer, a lot of times they'll option it from you, so they can adapt it into a screenplay. And basically, you would give the theatrical rights over to a production company, and for whatever amount of fees, to allow them to develop it and then ultimately turning it into a feature film. Another option is you yourself can adapt it into a screenplay and write it as a screenplay, and then push forward as an independent filmmaker in search of funding to get it made into a film.
Oh, okay. Because I've never written a screenplay before.
You guys are still there?
Yeah, she said she's never written a screenplay before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never written a screenplay before either until I wrote a screenplay.
There you go. There you go. So in other words, don't let that stop you, right?
Okay.
Stop you. Go online, do research. You could definitely find screenplays.
I guess that.
So you can understand and see the template.
Okay.
And, you kind of take it from there.
All right. Thank you.
Word. Thank you, Kathy. Yo, you know what, Jerry? That's actually the answer to everything in life, though. If you think about it, you know what I'm saying? You never have your driver's license till you have your driver's license. Like, you don't do anything till you do it. So, I guess the The point there will be make it happen. All right, so let's talk about some of your favorite projects. And I'll tell you what, I'm gonna ask the next question because there's so many in here, and we're gonna try to keep this, to an hour tonight. So let me ask this. Wow, man, there's so many questions. So okay, let me see if I can go back up to the top. Jesus Christ. All right, let's see. Although I've never worked as a script writer, I'm a writer and editor with an eye for details. Is there a good place to start my journey to becoming a producer? Do you have any upcoming projects where you're looking for script supervisors or an assistant script supervisor? So those are very multi-tiered questions.
About four questions.
So just grab one of those, and she definitely needs to be on for this class for real, for real.
I ain't knocking her hustle.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what you're here for, though, right? She's like, look, if I'm gonna be on this call, I'm getting everything.
I was focusing on one of the questions, and then you threw 3 others on me.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, Kathy, I'm gonna unmute you and tell me the one question that's the most important to you. Not Kathy, I'm sorry. This is Elsa. Elsa Lathan. And Elsa, I'll tell you what, I didn't do this the first time. Elsa, what is your Instagram handle? We're gonna go ahead and type your Instagram handle in the chat window so that people can when I unmute your microphone, hear it. Hey, Elsa, you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Elsa. How you doing?
I'm good. My IG is Footprints Communications. Footprints like you're walking communications.
Footprints Communication. All right. So what is the one question you want to focus on?
I'll still try to answer as many of them as possible, but if there's one primary one,
there's one primary, yeah, because we
I mean, I guess most important is the upcoming projects that may be looking for script supervisors or assistant script supervisors. I'm just looking for opportunities to start.
Okay, she said, Jerry, she's looking for opportunities to start, and she wants to know how she can work with you specifically.
Well, for starters, where is she located?
Where are you?
I'm in New York, but I'm willing to travel.
She says she's in New York, willing to travel.
Okay, so I'm gonna generalize that question. The fact that you're in New York, you're definitely at an advantage. You're in a good place to be if you want to break into the game. Now, if you're looking to break in as a script supervisor, what I would suggest is definitely, again, like you're doing now with the networking, start letting people know that you want to venture into script supervising. So I think a great start would be to do a small film, like a short film. I would contact many of the film students over at NYU and Columbia that are doing their short films, their thesis films, so you can start building up a resume as a script supervisor.
Oh, whoa. All right, we're going to stop it right here. We're going to stop it. She's going to have to get signed up for the class now, Jerry. You giving her all the... she's going to hang up like, I'm good. Appreciate it.
No.
That would be a good start. Just to getting in and building in the name. Because just to be frank, and I'm going to throw this one jewel at her.
All right.
After that, like you said, we gotta hold it up a little bit. A script supervisor is a very, very, very crucial job in film production. You're talking about someone who really helps with details, which you said you have a strong gift for, attention to detail. It's someone that the director and the producers really rely on for anything that they may have overlooked, such as continuity, something as simple as an actor wearing a watch on his right hand versus his left, or did he have an earring in the last shot and now he doesn't. And so I think it's relatively safe to say that a major production probably won't put that position in the hands of a novice, to someone who's just started out. And so, again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, you definitely want to start off with some smaller projects, perhaps some friends projects, and do some short films and kind of build your resume up, and then just take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. All right, so I'll tell you what, let's talk about your projects, and Elsa, I love it, and I love the fact that you're like, you know what, let me put every question that I thought about for the last 2 weeks since I first saw this flyer in here, and I'm just going to try to get them all right now. I love it. All right.
Well, so they were related.
They were all related, so why not? Love it. All right. So Jerry, let's talk about some of your favorite projects, why they were your favorite projects, and some of the people that you've met along the way that are still, you know, you still have great relationships with, and how you guys were able to stay connected?
Sure. Well, definitely my first film, you know, my directorial debut was A More Infinity. So naturally, that's my baby. That's the firstborn. So it holds a special place in my heart, especially given after 17 years of making that film. You have films that come and go, you know, every day, and that is so forgotten. The fact that I continue to get so much love on that film, that it resonates with so much people, that goes a long way for me, and it really, you know, touches me dearly. You know, I've received letters from individuals that have literally named their child, named their daughters or more, you know, after the film, after the main character of the movie. So anytime you have the blessed opportunity to create something that's lasting, and decades later it resonates with people and people are still discovering it, naturally you're going to have a certain love for it. It's probably the film that I critique myself the most on, because again, it's my first film. So when I look back at it, I see a lot of things that you know, a lot of decisions that I wouldn't make today. It has a low production value. I shot the film for roughly about $35,000. Yet it still remains, you know, one of a lot of people's, it's one of their favorite films of mine that I've made. Blackout definitely holds a special place in my heart for a number of reasons. Not only is it a project that I wrote, produced, directed, and had the opportunity to star in, but it's one of those films that came from a personal experience that I encountered on Flatbush with the actual blackout that occurred in 2003. And so between putting the financing together for that film and getting the cast that I got, it was really what you know, a lot of people see now as lightning in the bottle. You know, the film starred Joan Saldana, Jeffrey Wright, Michael B. Jordan, Jason Hatfield, Susan Collette Watson, Anthony Chisholm, Melvin Van Peebles, LaTonya. Like it was really bananas. It's a sick ensemble cast, and to have been able to put that together, you know, again with limited resources as an independent film, it's also one of those films that people can still look back at 20 years, 25, 30 years. You'll be able to pull out actors or people in that film and go, oh my God, they were in that movie. Like, it's crazy. And that was always my goal, even when I was shooting it. You know, you always want to make things that are going to, you know, I guess in some way or form be a classic and that people are going to remember. And so a lot of great relationships came out of that. One of the things I've discovered in my career as a filmmaker, I've had the opportunity to work with a plethora of talents. I mean, we have 4 of them listed here, but I've had a chance to work and direct Whitney Houston, Terrence Howard, Mos Def. A lot of projects, some projects didn't even come to fruition. But again, I've had a chance to work with a lot of great people. And one of the things about this business is the fact that it is a business. So oftentimes, just because you work with someone, it doesn't mean that you become BFFs. More times than more than any other occupation in the film industry, the actor basically commits to a project, and no sooner than the project is done, they're on to a new project. That's the life of an actor, whereas a producer or director is often married to a project for 2 or 3 years at a time. And so a lot of times there are relationships and bonds and rapport that you develop with the actors, and then other times it's, you know, it's very casual, and it's like, you know, if I see you again, you know, it's all love, but, you know, that's it. And then there are others that you do develop lasting friendships with.
I love it. I love it. So, all right. So now, like I said, Jerry is basically giving you his backstory. So now he's getting ready to flow. And for those of you who weren't here last night, here's what's about to happen next. So Jerry has a bunch of lessons that he wants to share. He's going to answer a ton of your questions, and I have a crap load of them in this chat window. I'm seeing some on Instagram. I got a few more in my email. So we definitely have enough questions. I want you guys to continue participating by taking pictures, sharing it on Instagram. And then he's going to talk to you about the Actors and Filmmakers Fellowship Series is coming up, and why you guys should be a part of that. So first thing that Jerry talked about, and this is, we try to get the mindset right? So Jerry was talking about people's attitudes and what does it take for people to actually even want to work with you. The first thing that came to his mind was, you know, who is it that nobody wants to work with? In your next directorial debut or the next thing you write or produce or whatever it is, what is that characteristic? And you said arrogant. So tell us why that's the first thing that came to mind, Jerry.
It's definitely the first thing that crossed my mind because it's something that I encountered and experienced very early in my career from my first film. You know, oftentimes the irony of it is the most arrogant person on set is the person that has the least reasons to be arrogant to begin with. You know, oftentimes the person that's done the least amount of work and has the least amount of notoriety. But just like any other profession of business, you know, word travels extremely fast, and I mean this in all facets. On the Hollywood level, on the independent level, word travels. And if people find out or start to catch wind that you are extremely difficult to work with, I really don't care how talented you are. Eventually it runs thin, and especially if you're a person of color, you really don't have the luxury of sitting on your talent and thinking that you can treat people however you want to treat them, and there aren't going to be repercussions down the line. On the independent level, people just won't mess with you. They're going to stop messing with you because time is money, money is time, and people really at that level don't have the luxury of dealing with, you know, a diva or someone who wants, you know, or asking or demanding things that are within, you know, the constraints of that production. And on the Hollywood level, Hollywood definitely has a tendency, you know, without me naming any names, I've worked with people who suffered this, and I kind of refer to it as the timeout. Hollywood will put you on timeout and put you in a corner, just, you know, just to teach you a lesson, put you on suspension for a couple of years, and then allow you to decide to play. So arrogance is definitely, you know, that's one of my pet peeves. That's one of the first things that stood out to me when you asked me that question.
So what is it? What is the worst example of arrogance? And again, you don't have to call names because we're not here for that. But what is the worst example of arrogance that you've seen on set?
People wanting to go home early who haven't finished their scenes yet. Just start making really crazy demands like I want a trailer, but we're shooting a $40,000 movie, you know, in Brooklyn in Flatbush Avenue. Like, where are we gonna put this trailer that you want to stay in? You know, we're in my aunt's apartment. You knew the deal when you signed on to do the movie. You know what this is. Or even on a higher level, because I've encountered this with my higher budgeted productions, showing up on set late. That's a really pet peeve for a lot of filmmakers and producers, and for the same reason. This is still a business, so time is money and money is time, and everyone is trying to make their day. So that's something that you know, filmmakers, as an actor, you want to be professional, just like any other job. You want to be on set on time. You know.
Absolutely love it. All right, let's keep pushing. Speaking of professionalism, I think this is a great segue. So what is it about unprofessionalism? And I think I know in a corporate context, but what is it in TV film?
It kind of falls in line with the arrogance. Like you said, it is a good segue, but unprofessional, again, going back to, you know, making sure you're on time, showing up on set on time, being cordial with crew. A lot of times, one thing that's very common in productions, and it's really kind of funny, it's hilarious, but productions are basically a hierarchy. And so the lower you are on the totem pole, the more you thrive to, and excuse my French, shit on the person that's beneath you, just so you can kind of redeem yourself, because everybody else is shitting on you, so to speak. And so understand and respect that everyone in the crew, the cast, the crew, the production, from the production assistant, the PA, to the craft service, to the people that are preparing your food, this is a team effort, and everyone has their role to play on set. And so just because you're an actor, it doesn't mean you have to treat the PA or a background actor, you know, just be disrespectful for that simple reason, to feed your own ego. I would categorize that as being unprofessional. And again, that's something that travels to where it gets out with that.
Word. All right. And the last thing you talked about was being selfish or all about self.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes back to the actor too. Filmmaking is a collaborative effort, especially acting. For those of you who've taken acting lessons, you know that even when you don't have lines, you have to stay in the moment. It's important that you stay in the moment, and that great listeners make the best actors. In order to develop your skills as an actor, I'm giving another freebie away, AJ, but understand the best actors are the best listeners. And so oftentimes, and this doesn't happen often, I haven't come across this too often, but it is selfish if you have a scene with an actor, you're shooting a scene, and we've already done your coverage. We've done your coverage, and so the other actor is giving you something to feed on. And now that you know we're doing coverage on the other actor, you're like, I'm going back in my trailer. You know, you guys don't need me for this shot, right? I'm not in this shot, right? So you can kind of just read it to them. Read them my lines, and then that person will deliver. That's what I would consider selfish and inconsiderate of your partner, of your scene partner.
Wow, and you saw that? You saw that on set?
Oh, yeah, that's happened. I've seen it happen personally, and I know there have been cases where people do that. I have a fight to catch, so you got me, you covered me, you got the master shot, you got the two shot, you got my single coverage, right? So I'm out.
Wow.
You're doing his coverage now, so you could just read it to him. And yeah, essentially you could do it, but you wouldn't do it if you didn't. It's not the top choice that you'd want to do. You want to give the actor the courtesy of what he or she gave you.
Right.
Because this is all about energy, and it's all about feeding off of the other person. So that would be considered selfish, and about you're concerned primarily about yourself.
I love it. All right, so let's flip this on his head. Flip this on his head. What do you personally look forward to? And I know you talked about humility. So what does that look like on set? What does that look like as a producer? What does it look like as a writer? As someone on the set? What does humility look like?
Someone who's just really cool, who wants to work, who understands, once again, not to be redundant, that this is a collaborative effort and is allowing everyone to do what they do respectively. And to me, that's what I consider humility as an actor, writer, someone who wants to learn, who understands that none of us will always learn something new, regardless of how many years of experience we have in this industry, and who's receptive to understanding and learning from their kind of partner. That to me is humility, and I think that goes a long way in this industry. Because oftentimes it's an anomaly, unfortunately, but I don't think it goes unrecognized.
Love it. All right. Talk about collaboration.
Man, I think I talk too much about collaboration. But again, I always compare filmmaking to an orchestra, man. You have so many different players, you have so many different pieces, and they're all dependent on one another. And I think as artists, whether you're a writer, a producer, or a director, I think the more you understand that, the better of a filmmaker you'll be. There have been cases where, by definition, first-time filmmakers don't have a true understanding of what a director is. They make the mistake of thinking director, that means leader, and therefore I should know and probably know everything. And what I say goes, and there's no room for change, there's no room for flexibility, there's no room for ideas. I've heard horror stories like that. That's the worst thing you can do as a filmmaker, is to come in with that mindset. A smart man, a smart leader, or woman for that matter, a smart leader understands the importance of having people around him or that are just as good at what they do, if not better. And that was my mindset when I went into doing More Infinity, because More Infinity was my first film.
Right.
So my mentality was, I want everyone around me to be better than me at this game. Because if we're all in the same level, it's basically the blind leading the blind. I was going in on whatever natural God-given instincts and vibes that I had from years of watching film. But from a technical aspect, from an analytical aspect, I needed to make sure my DP was on point. I needed to make sure my AD, my first assistant director, was on point. I needed to I had to make sure that the key individuals that are essential to making a film had been here before. And so, therefore, they can help guide me. Not to say I wanted a bunch of yes men, but quite the contrary. People who can guide me and say, Jay, I'm not sure. I don't think that's a good look. In order for me to determine whether or not I want to move forward or not with that decision. So I've always taken that role as a leader, that my aides, the people that are besides me, I want people around me that are just as talented, if not even more talented or savvy or knowledgeable in whatever my venture is than I am.
I love it. I love it. All right. So now you just literally just said that about you being receptive and open to learning. What about your crew?
Oh, well, I would like to think, a lot of times as a filmmaker, they say, and this is why, and I often make this joke, I find this quite humorous. If you watch a really good movie, people go, wow, who directed that? Right?
Right.
You watch a really, really bad movie, and there are so many players in the making of a film, from the producers on down. But if you watch a horrible movie, you'll notice the first thing you go is, yo, that shit was crap. Who directed that? So it all falls on the director, good or bad. So if you're going to take praise, you have to have a strong something. You got to be able to take the critique as well. Right. And the reason for that is, I can say, well, the editor sucked. Or I could say the cinematographer sucked. But anyway you looked at it, it's still going to come back to me because I'm the one who hired that person, or I okayed that person.
Right. Wow. That is.
So I have to live with that. You
Right.
understand? It still comes back to me any way you look at it. And so that's something that I'm very mindful of. If that person messed up, guess who really messed up? I messed up for hiring him.
Got it.
And I messed up for not making the changes once I saw that it needed to be made. So that's the responsibility and the burden that falls with the director. So you make a great film, you clearly weren't the only one responsible for it being a good film. But if the film craps, trust me, you're going to be the main individual people look at and go, that's the cat that did that horrible movie. So you have to be mindful of that.
Absolutely. And initially we started out and we were going to talk about 7 different things that you learned along your journey, but I think we actually cut it down to 5. So one of the things that you shared earlier when you were talking about your bio is that you were a kid and you realized that movies were your thing, right? And when it was time for you to make a decision to, in your case, bring in income, you made an intentional decision about going into a movie theater, right? So one of the characteristics that you said people in the film industry would have to succeed is being intentional once they realize what their thing is. Can you tell us, what that looks like?
Well, I'm gonna recite a real old quote that the audience is probably already familiar with, but it's something that resonated with me when I first heard it, and it's probably been maybe 4 or 5 years since when I originally heard it. But the quote is, they say there are two most important moments in your life, are the day that you're born and the day that you discover your purpose. Those are the 2 most important days of your life: the day you're born and the day you find your purpose. You may recall earlier I mentioned, as a child, I still saw the acting as a fantasy. I saw it as a dream. As I got older, by the time we got to the movie theater stage, me working as a movie usher and me going into the film festival, it was what I referred to as and this is where most people stay and get stuck, is let me see how this thing pans out phase. Like, let me just do it and see what happens. Right. So you basically don't know if it's going to pop or not, but you're like, let me just do it and see if something happens.
Let me stick my toe in and just see.
Just to see. And I was in that zone for a long time. And then there comes that moment where you battle with this journey, because it's so hard and it takes so long and you have so many peaks and valleys, that there are times that you question if this is what you're supposed to do or not, and maybe I should stop wasting my time and pursue something else and another venture. But then there's always something where the universe brings it back to you, and it shows you this is what you're supposed to be doing. So I say all that to say, it's a beautiful thing when you wake up and you're no longer in the let me see how this thing plays out phase. But okay, regardless of the outcome, regardless of how this whole thing plays out, this was my purpose. This is what I was put here to do. That's something I never question anymore. There's no doubt. Even if I never made another film tomorrow, even if every other film I did was met with mediocre success, this is where I'm in my lane. I'm in my zone. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So once you understand that this is your passion and it is your purpose, you have to be intentional. Everything else now has to be geared towards that goal. For good or bad, for better or worse. With no doubt. And that's a beautiful place to be, is when the doubt is gone. This is no longer, let me see where this thing goes and see if it pops. So, no, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I was put here to do. And again, I think that's where most people get stuck.
I love it. I love it. So the next thing that you talked about was, again, you were there, night after night. You said you watched like 70 or 80 films in your career. You would watch, movies over and over.
That was just in one summer.
Oh, word. Oh,
yeah.
Word. One summer.
That was just one summer.
Damn. Are there even 80 days in the summer? It's like, word. So you were literally there every day.
You'd be surprised. They crammed them out real quick, especially the ones that don't do well. 2-3 weeks is something else, And you got about 6 or 7 coming out a week.
So talk about feeding the dream.
Feeding the dream. Feeding the dream for me is, again, once you're strong in your convictions and understand your purpose, just like anything else, just like if you decide you're going to work out or any endeavor that you embark on, it has to be fed. And how do you feed it? You feed it by attaining knowledge and finding out the process. What's the process? Because if you're not pursuing any process, then it remains a dream. That's all it is. It's a dream without purpose. So now you know this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I want to pursue. You have to feed it. So by definition, feeding is pursuing it, getting the information, doing the research, doing the due diligence, putting yourself in the right circles, get your networking on, so you can begin the process of bringing this dream to fruition.
I love it.
How do you do that? Boom, you just hit it. You got to invest in yourself. You got to invest in yourself. I mentioned that first trip. One of my first big investments in this industry was that trip to India.
Was that one of the biggest investments in your life at that point?
Definitely. Like for me, let me see, I think I was 22 or 23 at that time. And so for me, hell, 2,000 something was a lot of money. It is what it is. It wasn't peanuts to me. And so I invested that, and it didn't stop there, because that's the other thing. Once you start investing, once you start feeding, it doesn't stop.
Right.
And it's just like any business. You're a brand, you're a business.
Yeah.
Any business, you have to feed it.
Yep.
You make money in something, what do? You have to put some money back into it, right?
Yeah. And
you don't pocket all the money and say, I'm good. You got to feed the business. You got to put money back into it to grow. So it's the same situation. In 1999 and in 2000, I didn't have a dream. I didn't own a dream. And so when I came back from ADFS, one of the first things I was made aware of is that I had to invest in a computer. There was no way around it. If I was going to write a screenplay, if I was going to go on these forums and these blogs, or what have you. And this is when the internet was running through, your phone.
Yeah.
This is before Wi-Fi.
This is when it was like, you've gotten it was AOL back then, right? That we got to put the free CD in. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I met my cinematographer, a long-time collaborator, Ben Wolf. was online.
Really? In '99?
Inquiring about cameras, inquiring about how to shoot an independent film. And then he came on the chat room. It's like, hey, my name is LaMothe. I'm in Brooklyn. I got this camera. A word? How does that camera work? Well, I do this. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, oh, okay, we got to keep in touch. Okay, cool. 17 years later, that's like my go-to guy.
Word, still to this day.
Again, to this day. To this day. You know, that's the computer I wrote my very first screenplay on Infinity.
Wow.
And again, the rest is history. So you got to invest in yourself. And I had to buy software. I had to buy the screenplay software. But if I leave anything else with the audience, is that you got to invest in yourself first before anybody else will invest in you. You can't. It's just like me with my films. I can't come to someone and say, look, I need X, Y, Z dollars, and I haven't put X, Y, Z in it myself.
Correct.
It's not only until you've put out your blood, sweat, and tears and improving yourself and you have a strong track record to show your worth and your credibility that someone can come and say, you know what? Yeah, I believe in you. I believe in this project. Here it is. Boom. Every film, and this is a true story, every film that I've had financed and my financiers have put money in, with the exception of my first film, they invested in the film based on the film that I did prior to the film that I'm asking them to give me money for.
Wow. So it's based solely on track record.
Or I presented it to them, and they go, yeah, I like your work, man. I like your style. I like what you're doing. Or, oh, yeah, I'm a fan. Like, definitely, let's do this.
I love it. I love it. So another thing that you shared, and we didn't even get into that part of it tonight, but you talked about walking the talk, right? So if you would share the story about, you know, how you got your first film financed and the proposition that you gave them.
Oh, yeah, that was bananas. So one of my earlier crazy endeavors, believe it or not, and there are a few people who know this, it even sounds weird saying it out loud, but I started my own exterminating business many years ago. I was about 18, 19 years old. So I had my own business, I'd say probably from 18 to 22, 23. It was something I did on the side. I was trying to get contracts, and basically I started out getting contracts from the local bodegas, the pizzerias, and the Chinese restaurants around the way, you know, in Flatbush. And so basically, after the film festival, I got the computer, I wrote my script, I got Ben Wolf now, I got my cinematographer, I befriended a couple of people from participating in some student films. So I have a team that's willing to take this journey with me and shoot my first movie. So now I need the money, I need the finances. And so basically, I started saving some of my own money. I went to some friends and family, asked them for some money to invest in me. That's my mom. God bless her, who had a little money put away from her income tax refund. She's trying to save her money to buy her first home. And I asked her for that money, and she gave it to me.
Word.
And yeah, that's a true story. And then ultimately, I still needed a significant amount of more money. And so I went to the local fried chicken joint. Everybody in the hood knows they have an American, a Kentucky, or a Texas fried chicken on their corner.
And this is in New York. So, in New York, in what year?
This is 1999.
Word. Okay, New York, 1999. All right.
New York, 1999, November, December, and I know the family. It's an Afghan family who owns a chain of restaurants. The Arifi family, who would later become very good friends and investors in some of my earlier work. And I basically walked in and I spoke with the younger member of the family of the clan of mine. And I basically told him what I was looking to do and what I was looking to work on, and whether or not does he think his family would be interested in, you know, potentially investing in this film that I'm looking to put together. And he was really interested from the gate because, you know, he's an Americanized cat, very young, hip dude. And he was like, yeah, this would be great. And even more importantly, it would get me out of the chicken business. So I'm definitely down. I'm definitely going to bring this to the family. And so he came to me and he said, yo, there's a meeting next Wednesday. Come here. You're going to meet the family. You're going to just, you could pitch and make your presentation. I was like, all right, that cool. So fast forward a week later, I walk up to the chicken joint. They open that back gate with the partition. We all know how that looks, with the taxi driver looking partition, the bulletproof joint. Open the gate. Say, come out back, Jay. I was like, all right, cool. And I swear to you, it was like a scene from The Godfather. There's Big Mama walking around and little kids on the floor behind the kitchen. It's a dim kitchen setting. There's like a little table with that little lamp over the table.
Yeah. And
there's like all the heads of the family are like sitting down, and they know me from over the years because I've been going there since I was a kid. I'm like, hey, Jerry, how's it going, man? What you doing? What's up? What are you looking for? What do you need from us? And so I gave them my pitch. I told them, looking to make this movie. It'll be my first movie, and I'm really passionate about it. And here's the screenplay. And like I told you, this is what I left them with. I still remember vividly. This is what I left them with. I said, look, I can't promise you wealth. I can't promise you fame. I can't even promise you you're going to make your money back. Because really, and truthfully, I can't say that because I don't know. The only thing I can assure you, the only thing that I can tell you is that you will have changed my life forever. That much I do know. If I pull this off and I make this movie, my life isn't going to be the same. You will have helped change my life forever. And I think that was for them. And it says a lot about them and their character, too, because they're very spiritual. So they're not looking at this solely from a financial standpoint. And even at that point in time, they didn't sign on officially yet. Because what I did, in my own crazy way, which I have a tendency of doing, I was scheduled to begin shooting 4 days later, knowing I didn't have all the money to shoot the movie. Had they not gotten on board, we would have shut down probably by day 2 or day 3. The actors would have showed up on set and I just would have been like, there's no more money, I'm sorry. I was rehearsing with my actors knowing I didn't have all the money for the movie. But everyone is different. And the average individual doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you were building a bridge while you were walking.
They have to be able to see the whole thing. The money got to be in the bank. They're not moving a step further until everything is in place.
Yeah.
Whereas myself, I've learned in my life, this is just a pattern in my life, I can't sit idle and wait for everything to fall into place.
Absolutely.
Because it never does.
Right.
But it always falls into place so long as I'm keeping my eye on the prize and I'm moving straight ahead and I'm moving forward. If I sit idle and go, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't have the money. I don't have this and I don't have that. I will be right where you see me sitting. But if I pursue it, and it can be scary. It's a scary journey to do it. But I've had to do it so many times, I'm accustomed to it now that I expect things to fall into place. I don't expect any less because I've been there before. I'll do it again. And so basically that's the approach I took with this film, with my first film. Not having all the money, here it is now, I've had the meeting, and the head boss, David Arifi, said to me, I'll tell you what, man, we're going to come on set Wednesday. Let's see how things operate, and if, we like what we see, we'll talk about it. We'll take it from there. For me, I took that as a yes. That's all I needed to hear.
Right.
As long as he didn't say no, I knew we were good. And sure enough, he came on set. It's all smooth, running operation, seeing electricians and cameramen walking back and forth with equipment, setting up the scenes. And at the end of the day, they said, yeah, we good. We got you. We're on board. He gave me a brown duffel bag full of money. And a crispy, chicken brown bag, doggy bag.
They literally gave it to you in a brown bag, bro?
The brown bag with the grease stains on it.
Word.
So, that was it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, guys. So look, again, you shared your story, and there are a million questions in here. So once you had the money in the bank, well, not in the bank, in the bag. In the bag. Like literally in the bag. What next, man? You were like, yo, I got this now. So now it's time to perform. No excuses. Let's talk about that. Like once you're up, you're up.
I'm up. So now I can focus solely on the creative aspect. I don't have to deal with the anxiety of the strain of raising the funds or not shutting down midway through. And so now we pushed forward and we shot a film. I was still working a 9 to 5, so basically our shooting schedules were like 6, 7 o'clock at night, allowing everyone to get home, shoot till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on the weekdays, and then I'd go to work again a few hours later. And that's one of the reasons I'm so self-conscious about that particular film. Other people don't necessarily see it, but I look so tired in that movie because I played the lead in it. Because remember, I'm coming from the place of I'm an actor, first and foremost. And this is to create my own platform to get my work out as an actor. And so to me, I look all puffy-eyed and tired throughout the whole movie. But that's a whole other story. And we would shoot on the weekends. We shot on the weekends, and we shoot during the weekdays at night till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We went into post-production, did the film, and that year it premiered at the Urban World Film Festival, which was the festival I couldn't afford to get into before going to ABFF. So I went from trying to sneak in a festival I didn't have the money to go in and see to, which we kind of skipped this part, but after ABFF, I volunteered at Urban World. So again, that goes back to the whole networking thing too. I wanted to be in the space. I want to be in the space. I want to seize opportunities while I'm in the space to learn, and I'm around people that are doing what this thing is that I love, that I want to be a part of. So I went from trying to sneak in that festival to being a volunteer in that festival to now it's like the opening night movie in New York City at Urban World.
And how do you deal? You talked about not making excuses. When you hear people making excuses, you know, when they're not doing things in their, you know, chosen field, and people, I think a part of it may be fear, and I'll let you talk to that because I have my own opinions. But when you hear people talking about excuses, when you have literally shared with us a story tonight of, it seems like at every juncture along the way you had to figure out the next thing, right?
Yeah.
And you never stopped and made excuses. So when you hear someone make excuses, like, how does that make you feel as a professional who has had to basically traverse all these different obstacles?
I'll be frank with you. It's a big pet peeve and a huge turnoff for me.
Word.
Like even with my kids, they know the minute you start trying to get a little, you start to display a little self-pity or throw excuses at me, I really just tune people out. I just cut you off. Like seriously, because that's like that quote that we were all reposting on Oprah today about energy and how important energy is.
Yeah.
Like I can't deal. Like I can't mess with you.
Word.
Now granted, we all have our challenges.
Sure.
And I get it. You know, depending on where you are in life and what your situation is, you know, we got families, we got kids to support. It's not easy. No one ever said it was gonna be easy. But for me, I'm really big on the whole thing with excuses. It's just a question of how you maneuver. But you should still be relentless in your pursuit of what you feel is your passion and your purpose by any means. And again, you know, I say that with some reservation because again, I understand everyone's situation is different. But within reason, there's always a way to go about it. Some of us perhaps a little less aggressive than the other, but nonetheless, you know, there's really no excuses because that's primarily based almost always fear-based to begin with. And so that's one of those things I have a low tolerance for that.
Absolutely. So I got a question from Kezia. I think that's how we pronounce her name, Kezia. And she has a question about projects coming up. Kezia, you the floor. There you go.
Yes, I'm here. I am definitely here. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.
Wow, she said you're a blessing.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your trials, your tribulations with us. I'm genuinely humbled right now, my brother. You feel me? What I have is more of a comment. My husband, who's beside me, he would like to ask you something. He's also from Brooklyn. Would that be all right? Would that be all right?
Yeah, you.
Would that be all
So,
right?
okay, I don't know if Jerry can hear you, but Jerry, she said her husband has a question for you. She said, number one, she's been extremely inspired by everything that you've shared. And number two, her husband, he's from Brooklyn. You said Brooklyn, right, Kezia?
Yes, he's right here.
Yeah.
He's right
And he
here.
has a question for you.
All right.
Hey, how you doing? I have a question where do you have acting
All right.
workshops in Brooklyn?
Do you have actors doing what in Brooklyn?
Well, like an actor's workshop in Brooklyn or in New York with filmmakers or just trying to break into the business.
Yes, as a filmmaker.
Got it. All right. So, do you have any acting, I guess, to paraphrase or maybe summarize, any resources, Jerry, that you would recommend for them in Brooklyn?
That's a good question. Unfortunately, not necessarily. If they were asking in terms of any youth or youth programs, for anyone under the age of 20 or 21, I would have strongly recommended my boy Jimmy Hector's film program. He has a theater group in Brooklyn in Crown Heights called Moving Mountains. If you guys want to look that up, that's a great resource for the youth. He does this free weekly series of acting and scene study, and I think at the end of the year they do an average of 2 or 3 theater productions. But that's geared more towards again the youth in the community. So with regards to any adults in Brooklyn, that's something that would definitely have to be researched online just to see what theater groups or acting classes or scene studies you could take. But I think that's one of the blessings of AFFS and this initiative that we're starting. It at least puts people in a situation where you can still gather and gain certain crucial information as well. Although it's not physical scene studies, it allows you, whether you're in Africa, in Canada, in London, what have you. What we're doing right now is fellowship. We're basically networking, and we're building, and we're being inspired by one another. So that was one of the reasons we formed AFFS. Regardless of where you are, you can participate. But with that being said, I still understand the need for, practical repetition and scene study and things of that nature. So that's something I could perhaps look into, and maybe I can post that on IG, but I don't know anything offhand at the moment.
Jerry, I just want to say, brother, what you're doing tonight is one of the most selfless acts of knowledge. And for that, I thank you.
Word. She said this is one of the most selfless acts that she's been a part of. And again, Kezia, like I said, when they brought this together, this was all about giving to the industry, right? Bringing this and giving something so that everybody can come together from wherever they were, and doing it at a price point to where it was literally a no-brainer. So I think that was kind of where this was born from. So we appreciate your call, and we look forward to seeing you on the first training Saturday morning with Winston.
All right. Thank you.
Winston sets it off.
Yeah, Winston sets it off Saturday. And Jerry follows up.
Saturday.
Right.
A lot of stuff.
Words.
And again, we appreciate you guys.
Absolutely love it. So let's look at what did you guys learn tonight? Because I know, again, Jerry just shared so much information, but let's talk about some of the things you learned. And I still want you guys tagging and sharing on Instagram. Type in the chat window first before we go, and start opening up microphones again. I just want to see you guys type in the chat window 2 or 3 things that you've learned. I learned a crap load of stuff. Not even in television and film. I want to reiterate that from last night. I have no desire to be in TV film. It's not my lane. But just understanding, you know, Jerry's story and Winsome's story of how she got started. And I've had a chance to sit and talk with Terry and understand how she started. It's just so much knowledge there. But I want to know, you know, what is one of the things that tonight that you were like, wow, that's dope, that you can walk away with. And in the meantime, I see that they're coming through. I want to go ahead and let Jerry, let's see. Henry wants to know, how can he get on the radar for you if he wants to be in one of your films?
Good question. Well, I would have to say definitely, for starters, follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Let me know your name. Let me know that you tuned in today, and to follow you back. And that way you stay on my radar. I'll definitely be mindful of your activities. You keep me abreast of what you got going on. And surely you'll be able to see what I got going on when I'm auditioning, when I'm pushing my next project. And, you know, just give that friendly reminder, you know, hey, Jay, remember me from AFFS? What's up with the audition? It's as simple as that.
Oh, word. So, so what I'm hearing is the people on the call or the people in the course get priority as you start to think about. Yeah, because you know what, though, honestly,
that makes sense. That's like a crew. That's like anything else.
But you know what? If you think about it, like, so one of the best relationships, and I'm a technology guy, but one of the best relationships that I have is from taking a guy's class, right? It was a very expensive class, but I knew I needed it to prepare my career. Now he and I talk all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's, again, invest in yourself. That's how it starts, right? So, okay, so Henry, I think he answered your question. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, what are some of the projects you have coming up?
Oh, good question. Well, I have two passion projects that's really near and dear to me. One is called The Promise Keeper, which has been in development for about 6 years now. It's been a real labor of love for me, and it's loosely based on a true story about me and my childhood best friend. And it takes place in Brooklyn and in Haiti. So it's a very ambitious project, so that's one of the ones we're working on. I have another pet project called The Good Son, which I'm looking to shoot in Atlanta, hopefully in the coming months. And since over the last year, I've taken a strong interest in television. And so TV right now is a really fascinating place to be. And so I really want to continue to do TV series and films of that nature. So I'm up for a couple of TV shows as well as a couple of biopics on the humble. So I'm waiting to get word on that. But I imagine the year will probably cap off with me doing some television films and some TV series. And I'll continue to press forward with some of my passion projects.
I love it. I love it. Are you at liberty to drop like any insider secrets tonight, or you wait till they solidify, or?
Yeah. Next Saturday I'll drop it.
Next Saturday. Next Saturday.
And even then I won't give it all away.
Yeah. Just a nugget. That's what's up.
Nugget, yeah.
Wow, we still got people joining the call. That's crazy. All right. So she said yes. Whatever. That's what's up. So, so Nichelle said that this was confirmation for her. And she also said that mindset is everything. So, Nichelle, let's see if I can unmute Nichelle's microphone. And I would like to know, Nichelle, from you. First of all, thank you for calling in. Where are you calling in from? Nichelle?
I'm calling in from Atlanta.
Okay, she's in Atlanta. So why is this confirmation to you?
Well, I wanted to, like he said earlier, we don't have the luxury to just be actors. We have to sharpen our other talents, which is funny because I'm literally editing a video together right now while we're doing
so Jerry, she said the biggest thing that you said to her is, number one, you can't just be an actor. I just want to reiterate for everybody. Can't just be an actor. But number two, right now, while she's on this call, she's on her grind. She's editing film. She's editing video right now.
Nice.
Talk about multitasking. So what is one of the things you picked up tonight, Nichelle?
Oh, one of the things, there's so many.
That's just said
You know,
so
to
many
truly
things.
invest in yourself. And I know some people are on here and haven't signed up for the class, but like
Hmm.
go ahead and sign up. Like every time you invest in yourself, you're gonna get that back. But it, like he said earlier, it's about the
Tenfold.
mindset. It's not just about what can I get, it's what can I give? Give to
Right.
yourself, you know? Invest in yourself, invest in your craft, invest in your peers, invest in your community. It's important.
Absolutely
And
love it.
that's how we grow together.
So we actually, so I need all that to be like a testimonial. That was a great, like,
I
you're
got
already
you. I'll
ready.
do it. I got you.
We need that on Instagram. So again, I think that, you know, that absolutely makes sense, you know, invest in yourself. And she said it's not, it's investing to the greater, I guess, the greater good of the art. And I absolutely love that. So do you guys have any other questions? Because we're definitely over. Jerry has given way more than we talked about, you know, being on. So we have about 2 more minutes. But what I want to do is go through and talk about, you know, Jerry, in your words. Well, before we do that, we want you guys to leave us a video testimonial. Just flip out your phone, turn the camera around, record it, 60 seconds or less, post it on Instagram and tag Jerry, tag myself, just to get your feedback on the call tonight. We absolutely love
I want to see
everybody.
people's feedback. I definitely want to get people's feedback on that, so please do that.
No, yeah, this chat room is on fire. I mean, this chat window is on fire. So again, Jerry, tell us in your words, and Winsome shared with us last night, but in your words, you know, when you guys and guys, Jerry mentioned earlier talking about walking into a room and it was like a scene from The Godfather. About a month ago, I got a call from a friend of mine, Egypt, and actually Egypt's hosting. And she's like, AJ, you know, I got some people coming over this weekend, and I want to, you know, invite you over. So when she invited me, I walked up, and it was the same thing for me. It was like, whoa, wait a minute, I know these people. Like, what? These are some heavy hitters. Like, you know, they all sitting around. I was like, wow. I walked up, and it was powerful. Not only that they were all together, you know, in concert together, but that they came together in order to provide, you know, something for the industry that would help move the conversation forward, right? Uh, and, you know, the thing was more about the craft and bringing powerhouses together to share. And then this was the first part of a long-term thing. So you guys that are in, you know, this first series, this is just the beginning. And again, and Jerry, I'm going to ask you this, and this is the same thing that Winsome did last night. But for the first two people that go ahead and join this course from tonight, can you give a 10-minute coaching session to those people? Just maybe a phone coaching session where they have a project and they want to call and talk to you, and you give them, you know, like the young lady from New York, I think Kezia, was like, yo, you know, I had a question and I want to do this. Would you mind, you know, offering 10 minutes of your time? And I know, you know, all you guys charge for that. I know that, but just as a part of the people that take action and not just sit around, and you challenge them the same way they challenge you. Robert Townsend was like, yo, we'll do.
Exactly. And it paid off in dividends. But yeah, absolutely, AJ. I will do that.
And so tell them about what the thought process behind the Actors and Filmmakers Fellowship Series.
Oh, I think you put it quite eloquently. Whether it started out with a group of friends, a group of, you know, successful individuals who wanted to basically create a platform, you know, for fellow artists where we can engage in fellowship, engage in networking, and at the same time pass on crucial information and knowledge from our experience about the industry and how to maneuver.
I love it, love it, love it. And again, it was literally, that's what Egypt said. She was like, I mean, I'm sorry, Winston said, yo, we giving them a shortcut. I didn't have this when I started.
Oh, no, definitely. And if I did, it cost me a whole lot more.
Exactly.
A whole lot more. I flew to Mexico for it.
Exactly, to Acapulco, right. So,
yeah, no regrets, Mike. Yeah.
No regrets, no regrets.
The game has changed a lot.
The technology is a beautiful thing, right?
Technology is a beautiful thing, man. Everything is virtual now, so it's a beautiful thing.
Right. So guys, I'm just gonna blow through the modules real quick. So starting this Saturday, we got Winsome. She is she has a whole notebook full of stuff that she showed me last night. I mean, she talked about, she's like, look, AJ, you know, I'm giving them resources, I'm giving them links, I'm, you know, people that took action last night and they have the 10-minute calls with her. She's actually going to see how she can connect you with other people to help you move your career forward, right? Yeah, and think about this, though. Think about an $89, we got $69 and $89. $69 if you don't want the recordings, $89 you get the recordings and everything. But think about spending $89 for an online class that you watch, you know, in your office at the crib in your boxers or in your pajamas, and then you connect with someone like Jerry, and the next thing you know, he's like, you know what, I'm gonna cash you. Maybe it's an extra the first time around, you know what I'm saying, to get your feet wet. But then, you know, 3 years from now, you're like this big time producer, you know, writer, and it all started from like an $89 online course, which is insane, right? So, somebody you never really met in person, and now all of a sudden you're in a film. That's crazy. So again, that's crazy, bro. So got Winston first, and then we following up right back with Jerry, and this is when he's going to go into the deep dive about, you know, bringing your idea to life, right? And we had several people on here tonight that we had someone that's a script writer already, and she's like, you know, I'm sorry, what is it, a script manager? Script supervisor. Script supervisor, yeah. So, you know, Jerry's going to talk about bringing your idea to life, and Jerry, just I'm looking at the screen, but I want you to share with them, like, you know, kind of what you're bringing to the table that's on the screen, on the slide, and that's not on the slide.
Oh man, I want to delve further into the whole process of making my first film, how I got my first screenplay made, the feedback that followed after it, and delve into the whole financial aspect of it, of getting financing. What do you do after that? The next steps in getting your film out there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. And then, so we got Jerry coming up. That's next Saturday. And then the last module, we got Terry coming. And again, she has just a whole wealth of knowledge that she's ready to share as well. So again, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, 89 bucks, each one of them hourly, you know, and we talked about this last night. Jerry said the same thing. It's to get coaching like this. That's for an hour of their time, for them looking through your project and listening to your thoughts and ideas. It's $1,000. Like, each one of them charging no less than $1,000 an hour, just because of, you know, the work that they've put in the game, right? So, but you're getting all this right now for 89 bucks. And again, the website that you go to is buy.affseries.com. It's right there on the window. Just go buy.affseries.com. It'll take you directly to the opportunity to buy, and you can choose what you want. If you, I got a question for Jerry, and this is coming from, let's see, what's the name? I see the question. Let me scroll over so I can see the name. Wow, there's too many questions in here. So, okay. Oh, when is your class starting exactly? So Jerry is next Saturday. Okay. Let's see. Rafia says, what is the best advice you can give an aspiring actress breaking into the industry? I think he's already talked about that. Let's see. This was fire. Oh, this is amazing. I feel like this is. Someone said, this is unreal. I can't believe this call was free tonight. I love it. I'm a SAG actress. I'm trying to further my career. I love Jerry's work. I want to work only with him. Word. That is my man, Henry. Okay. This afternoon. Okay. Haiti Cultural Exchange. Okay. Yeah, so the people are sharing like all the different ways they heard from you. So guys, we're going to go ahead and call it. We're going to go ahead and wrap. But I want to know, type in the chat window right now if you're going to buy the class, and we're going to see you Saturday. Getting this thing fired up with Winsome. Go ahead and type in the chat window like, yo, I got it. Again, we want you taking pictures of the screen. I'm going to go back to the main screen, but again, to buy, it is buy.affseries.com. Let me go back with everybody on the screen. There we go. It is buy.affseries.com right now. Go ahead and purchase. Let's see who else. I'm in there. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, someone says, are you attending the ABFF this year, Jerry?
That's a very good question. It's kind of up in the air because one of the projects that I mentioned that I may potentially be in line for would be going into production on and around that time. But if I don't want to say I don't want to get the job. I hope I get the job. But if I don't work that particular project, I will more than likely be in ABFF again. I try to go as much as often as possible. Even nearly 17 years later, it's still a great networking opportunity for me. The last 2 years that I've gotten there, hanging out, I've always walked away with a project to do after. So,
wow,
yeah, it's love.
It's an incredible thing. All right, guys. So buy.affseries.com. The first 2 people that buy tonight, Jerry's going to coach you one-on-one, 10, and you may be able to stretch to 15 minutes, but 10-minute coaching call where he's going to talk through your project. Again, you just never know what kind of relationship you can build just getting on the call. So, again, I appreciate you guys joining. Jerry, are there any last words you want to leave with everybody before we call it a night?
Yeah, man, I just want to say I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting, because this, again, I can't repeat this enough. This is still a form of support. The fact that you guys took the time out to get this information, to politic and just gather together and talk. We all learn from it. I get inspired just listening to you guys, and I hope you guys will be tuning in over the next few weeks as me and my colleagues delve into this stuff, man. This is what we do. We love it. We're very passionate about it, and I hope that resonates with you guys. And I appreciate y'all.
All right, guys. Good night.